Hey everyone, my name is Sam and thanks for checking out this video. Make sure to hit the subscribe button down below, hit the bell notification, and if you get to the end and enjoyed it, give the video a thumbs up. So as always, I wanted to tell you all about the books that I read this month, and I can't believe it's the end of December already. I want another 5 weeks of paid holidays. I have to go back to work next Monday, and I like my job, but I love being able to sleep in and do nothing but read all day too. So I actually managed to read a buttload this month, and I'm really happy with the overall number. But then on top of that, I read a lot of really good books this month, several favorites of the year. So I'll tell you what ones I read, my favorites, my least favorite, my most surprising, and if I learned any lessons that are predominantly sarcastic, then I'll tell you about those too. So this month I read Fox by Nadine Brandes, A Curious Beginning by Deanna Raybourn, the first book in the Veronica Speedwell series, and I actually read this twice this month. The Afterlife of Holly Chase by Cynthia Hand as a reread. A Perilous Undertaking by Deanna Raybourn, book 2 in the Veronica Speedwell series, and this was a reread. The Gods of Gotham by Lindsay Fay, the first book in the Timothy Wilde series. A Treacherous Curse by Deanna Raybourn, book 3 in the Veronica Speedwell series, and this was a reread. A Poison Darkened Drowning by Jessica Cluess, book 2 in the Kingdom on Fire series, as a reread. The Gilded Wolves by Roshni Chotsky. This is book 1 in what is set to be a duology, I believe, and this is an arc. Keeper of the Lost Cities by Shannon Messenger, and this is book 1 in a 9-book series called Keeper of the Lost Cities. The Lady's Guide to Petticoats and Piracy by Mackenzie Lee. This is book 2 in, I think it's still called the Guides duology, or the Montague, I don't know. The Guides, we'll say Guides. A Crown of Wishes by Roshni Chotsky, and this is book 2 in the Dark Touched Queen series. Wondersmith, The Calling of Morrigan Crow by Jessica Townsend, and this is book 2 in the Nevermore series. An Assassin's Guide to Love and Treason by Virginia Boaker. Kingdom of Ash by Sarah J. Maas, book 7-ish in the Throne of Glass series. Mortal Engines by Philip Reeves. This is book 1, and I believe it's called the Mortal Engines Quartet. Sweet Black Waves by Christina Perez, and this is book 1 in what is set to be a trilogy called Sweet Black Waves. The Rook by Daniel O'Malley, and this is book 1 in the Check Key Files. A Sorrow Fierce and Falling by Jessica Cluess. This is book 3 in the Kingdom on Fire trilogy. Pages & Co. Tilly and the Book Wanderers by Anna James, and this is book 1 in the Pages & Co. series. The Iron Flower by Laurie Forrest, and this is book 2 in the Black Witch series. This is also as a reread. The Wizards of Once, Twice Magic by Cressida Cowell. This is book 2 in the Wizards of Once series. And lastly, The Magic Misfits, the second story by Neil Patrick Harris. This is book 2 in the Magic Misfits series. So spotlight time, my favorite, most surprising, and then least favorite. And I'll start with least favorite this time. In all honesty, I didn't read a bad book this month. I think this book I still ended up giving a 3 out of 5 stars. So my least favorite book of the month was An Assassin's Guide to Love and Treason by Virginia Boaker. I think what really let me down was that it was kind of marketed, I feel, a lot of different places as it's basically The Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue. So I went in expecting some comedy, and I have seen in places the way it was blurbed or being promoted as it's witty and there's good dialogue and blah blah. No, it's a historical fiction, and it's got doodles on the front cover, and that's kind of where the similarities to Gentleman's Guide to Vice and Virtue end, which I think was what really let me down. But nonetheless, I didn't hate it. It wasn't what I was expecting it to be, unfortunately. Most surprising book this month easily goes to The Rook by Daniel O'Malley. I randomly found out about this book at the very beginning of the month. I opened up my Instagram and it was the first picture that was there, and I was like, oh, that looks like a cool cover. And then someone was like, I can't believe no one knows about this book. It's amazing. It's one of my favorites. And so I Googled the Goodreads review, and then my bookstore actually had it in stock. So I went and picked it up, and dear Lord, it's amazing. I can't believe that I hadn't heard of this book before. It's got 12,000 ratings on Goodreads, which I was kind of surprised that there's that much, and I've never heard of it before. It's also becoming a TV show in 2019 by Starz, which I'm so excited about that. Oh my god, excited. And it's just got this weird paranormal mystery government secrecy betrayal thing going on. It's just such a weird, messed up, unique book in the greatest of ways. And I ordered the sequel, Stiletto, and I'm so excited to pick that up and read it, honestly, probably as soon as it shows up. So that may just get slipped into my January TBR. Okay, picking a favorite this month was pulling teeth. So I'm including The Rook in this. it's honestly one of the it would have been my top 5 in all honesty if I hadn't already like done my best books of the year. So that's why I included it in the surprise category. It was a good surprise. But I mean, like, oh, it's just so hard to narrow it down. So include The Rook as a favorite of this month, but also Sweet Black Ways by Christina Perez. I don't know what I was totally expecting. It's supposed to be a new historical fiction with romance. I'm a-okay when it's labeled as like YA romance. I know what I'm getting into in that situation instead of like, it's a fantasy, and then you read and you're like, no, this is just a romance set in like a medieval kingdom. But like, this was so good. And even the fact that I knew where it was going to end and it was still just so good the whole way, and there's like paranormal pirates. This book was so good. It's a Tristan and Isolde Lucy retelling, and I cannot wait for the second book. I just know it's not gonna, like, the next book is not gonna go well for like anyone. Like, oh, so yeah, if you're hesitant about this, definitely pick it up. Now, I won't spend too much time on this book because I did do a standalone video for it reviewing it, but The Gilded Wolves by Roshani Chotsky, I wasn't totally sure what to expect because I knew the summary. It's a fantasy-ish magical heist. However, everything I've read by Roshani for the most part, or at least very recently, was The Star-Touched Queen, so it's fantasy retelling. I knew that I loved her writing. I just wasn't sure how that was, if the writing would be able to translate to this new genre-y, because it's still different as well than Arusha and the End of Time too. But I absolutely loved this book. It comes out on January 15th, and I would really highly suggest you pick it up. There is a pre-order campaign going on if you live in the US or Canada. I'd check her Instagram, but I think it's character cards, and I'm just so excited for it to come out and for people to read it. And lastly, I gotta plug my Nevermore series. Wondersmith: The Calling of Morgan Crow was so good. I was so happy to be back here in this magical world, and like the characters were consistent in the attitudes and the writing and the world and just the weirdness of it. And I'm so happy that this is supposed to be set, at least anyways, to be a big series. So I'm just so excited. I can't wait for the third book whenever it does come out. I'm very impatiently waiting, but I, honest to God, like, just read this series. Nevermore is book 1, Wondersmith is book 2, and I'm in love with these covers too. The US and the UK covers. The UK covers, man, like, amazing job. So, highly recommend. And now lessons for this month. It's kind of hard to, not necessarily hard to pinpoint. I feel like I just read a lot of books that kind of fall under the same umbrella. Like, I read a lot of historical fictions as a whole. I read a lot of middle grade as a whole. I read a lot of kind of conclusion-y or fantasy-esque sort of types of books sort of thing. You know what I mean? So a few lessons I did learn this month, though. I feel like I'm almost kind of constantly reminded of this each month because for the longest time I was like, I hate romance and contemporaries. And then I met like, oh, a book, and I was like, okay, it's the exception. And I'm more like, no, I don't hate all contemporaries and romances. I just hate specifically, actually, the combination of contemporary romances. Specifically, those irk me. I hate those. But I seem to actually find books that I enjoy that are contemporary set. It tends to have like paranormal aspects or magical realism aspects or, I don't know, like mysteries or thriller aspects to it. But I still don't hate all mysteries. And romances. I don't hate romances. I feel like that more comes out of my anger of it being included when it isn't needed in a lot of books. Like, they just throw it into so many YA books, and it's so incredibly unnecessary. And you're like, people, like, there's no reason for them to be romantic. They could literally just be friends this whole book. It would literally make no difference. Why, oh why, do you need to make them lust after each other and not, yeah, so. Also, it kind of, like, I'm very hypocritical in this way that I hate when the book, especially of a large series, has this really clean ending, like a bow on top, and you're like, man, come on, like, it's not just specifically like Kingdom of Ash. I'm just thinking of that book specifically at this moment that I read this month, but series do that a lot. I mean, or even like look at like the Hunger Games. If they're not clean, you're like, the author just killed someone off because they knew they had to kill someone off, but then it doesn't make sense, and like, I'm sorry, but it literally didn't make any sense for the ending of the Hunger Games to just kill off Primrose. Like, what the heck was the point of that whole... Anyways. But I think it's, too, of, like, when there are books that have muddy endings, I also get angry. I'm just not, pleasable. But I feel like my anger when they're muddy endings is more like, what do you mean I have to wait for the next book? I'm not okay with that. How dare you do that to me? Like with Sweet Black Waves, or with Jay Kristoff, or with Niall Schusterman, or Amberlynn Natush with the ending of Dare You to Lie to Me. Like, I hate when authors have muddy endings and then I have to wait for the book. On a whole, and I think this is more specifically because of the Gilded Wolves, we need more heists in YA. And I feel like I'm confused as to why it's taking so long to get that. Look at how massive Six of Crows was. Like, enormously popular. Like, I'm surprised, but probably honestly more popular than Grisha, the original Shadow and Bone series, because I seem to be one of the few people that don't hate how that series ended. And it just, I don't understand why it's like, there's not more of them. We need more of them. And I know they can be like kind of difficult to plot out and you have to think about it in advance. And maybe that's not how some authors write, but like, we need more heists. On a whole, middle grade needs to calm itself down with the beautiful book designs, the high quality products, the amazing diverse character cast, writing, and just like, you need to calm yourself. Like, or teach a class and drag YA forward so we don't get stupid covers like the Ruby Red series, or, I mean, I know that's a little bit older series, but the cover concept is still used today. Give me more things like the Wondersmith or the Pages and Co books that are beautifully designed. Like, I'm okay with having to pay $25 to $30 for a book as long as it doesn't have a stupid person in a dress on the cover doing this. Like, it also confuses me. I don't know quite why, but I get like actually like visibly tensed up and angry when I randomly find a book, like a total fluke that I've never heard of, and it's amazing, and then I'm angry that no one told me about it before. Like, not just like, oh, I can't believe I didn't know. Like, I get actually, I am so offended that no one has told me about The Rook until now. The book's been out for like almost 3 years now or something like that. How am I just finding out about it? It's been optioned off to be made into a TV show too, like that normally bumps up, but like literally I don't understand, like how did no one freaking tell me about it? And finally, having read and watched Mortal Engines this month, please, for the love of all that is holy, stop optioning off books as a film production company. Like, stop buying it and then making it crap and spending like $200 million filming it, and then when it flops at the box office because your cheap settings, your cheap costumes, and the bad acting was emphasized by all the freaking face close-ups, just slapping Peter Jackson's name onto it doesn't suddenly make it good. You need to like acknowledge of like, oh, we're buying this series because it's popular. Let's look at the reviews and see why it's popular. Oh, it's popular because there is no romance. Alright, maybe we scrap this idea of throwing in a random love triangle. Or, oh, it's popular because the main character has a physical disability, or is like physically, you know, for Mortal Engine, where like they have scratches on their face or whatever. Maybe we don't hire a super attractive white person and just give her like a Halloween scar on the face. Maybe we try and work on that. Like, I don't understand for the life of me how they're like, man, Mortal Engines is flopping. I don't know what happened. You're like, who? You watched this before it came out, and at no point was anyone like, y'all, this is bad. Maybe we should reevaluate. And you would think that they would do that after the first massive flop. But no. They just keep doing this stuff. I just have honestly zero faith in adaptations at this point, unless they're done by Netflix or Stars for the most part. So those are all the books that I read in the month of December, the things they taught me, and the things that make me angry, apparently. Make sure to check the description box down below. I will link all of these books to their Goodreads pages, and I will also link all of my social media. If you follow me, I will follow you back, and I hope you have a safe and happy, wonderful start to the new year.